So I would just like to advise everybody that we are being recorded. And I think our first guest speaker, our only guest speaker tonight, Joel Arbeitman, Chair of the Ashland Upper Charles Sheriff Committee, will speak to the possibility of Hopkinton, Ashland, Milford, Holston, Sherburne, joining with Framingham to become part of the East Coast Greenway. So Joel has been good enough to forward some dockets of information, and they're working on the technology right now. So while they're doing that, we will,
He's just trying to bring it up one more. Now you gotta go back into the.
that's all right. Maybe we can, we'll come back to them. Just raise your hand when you're ready, guys. We can start with a discussion. It's a general frequently first of all, are there any questions and comments from the public? And I see Amy Groves over there. No? Okay.
Public has nothing to say. It's a little different option on my computer.
It's encouraging.
Okay, so number 4, while they're working that out,
Somewhere.
we will go to general FAQ number 3. The committee member, Ms. Ronka, commented dated 2/26/23 on the town website, identifying same as a work in progress while the committee continues to discuss it. So unfortunately for us, Jamie, are you out there? I don't see her there. But I don't see there. But there are 2 items on our agenda concerning Jamie. And if I could ask the members, would the committee consider postponing those until the next meeting when Jamie can be here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so that would be.
or later if she gets in here and, yeah.
I
We
think
can't have a
yeah,
conversation with somebody if it's not here.
number 9. So we'll just move those forward. Okay.
Good, that's perfect.
Okay, so now Joel,
Are we ready?
are we ready? So we are very fortunate to have Joel with us, our Beaverman. He is the our Beitman. Is that better?
Even better.
Our Beitman.
Is it our bite?
Thank you.
Our Beitman.
Our Beitman. And is the chair of the Ashland Charles. And he has been working with several of his on a new conversation that has been going on. I'm not sure how long, but I will, so been to come and join us, and we agreed to hopefully, give him like 10 minutes or so, and then leave a couple minutes for questions or comments. And I would just like to preface it that this is an ongoing conversation. Okay, so take it away, Joel.
I'm gonna stand up if that's okay.
I think that would be great.
So my name's Joel Arbeitman. I've already been introduced. I do a whole bunch of stuff with Rails to Trails, MassDOT. I founded way back in the early days of the Upper Charles Trail, the Ashland Bike Club, as a group to try to get our local representatives in Ashland specifically to support more funding and support for the trail. And over the last few months, I was asked to join with a group of people who are working on trying to link the Upper Charles Trail, where it ends right now in Sherborne, up into Framingham and north. And what does north mean? We're going to look at some maps today and really understand. And it's important that you understand what north means, because north of Framingham is the Gold Ring. There's the Bruce Freeman Trail that runs all the way up to Lowell. Hitting perpendicular to the Bruce Freeman Trail is something called the Mass Central Trail. And where does that go? It goes to the Canadian border in Maine. The other end of the East Coast Greenway, which is what we're going to be talking about, ends at the southernmost point in the continental US, in Key West, in Florida. The trail exists right now. It's just about 3,000 miles long, and about 1,000 miles of it is off-road trail, like our trails. 2,000 miles of it is a horror show. You're riding along busy roads, Route 1 up in Maine, if you know the area. I mean, there's some, it's ugly. And not too many people have ventured to do the whole route, but some have, some brave souls. So there are some very serious and urgent and important issues that are affecting Ashland and Hopkinton very specifically. We're on the same team here. And we need to understand what's happening and make decisions about what, if anything, we want to do about it. Because we're in the same boat. So that's what I want to talk to you about. I have a really quick public service announcement here that will take about 10 seconds. There it is. Everybody should spread the word. This is new law. It's been signed by Governor Baker, like right on the 1st of January, and it takes effect April 1st. You passing a pedestrian, there's a lot of roads, you have them, we have them, with no sidewalks. People are walking in the street. Bike riders, wheelchairs, horses and whatnot, minimum 4 feet for cars passing them. So that's the new law coming.
And also pedestrians, right?
Okay, what the heck am I talking about here? Let's learn about this stuff. Okay. So there is, as I mentioned, a regional and national trail called the East Coast Greenway that can have a very significant impact on Ashland and Hopkinton. All right, we want to talk about what is going on with that. To make the East Coast Greenway complete in Metro West, what's missing right now is a link from Framingham, near the Framingham train station, down to the northern end, I guess you'd call it, at Whitney Street in Sherborne. We don't have that. We don't own it. Who does own it? CSX Rail Company. There's tracks there, lots of them. And the group that I have joined, Eli's working with us and doing a very good job, I might add. He's a newer member. We're trying to talk to our state legislators about acquiring the CSX parcels so that we can put the trail in there. It's expensive. We don't know the price yet. We don't know the process yet. There's some possibility that the land could be purchased. We get to put our trail in and they can keep using the tracks with a fence separating the two. There's all different schemes of how this could work. So that is objective number one, to talk about where is CSX and why is this a linkage piece? And then this is the thing that is the challenge for Ashland and Hopkinton. And I'll explain what I mean by this as we get a little further along. This business about route parity. Essentially, in Sherborne, there's a branch. You could go to Ashland, Hopkinton, or you could go to Sherborne, Holliston, and come back around and meet in Milford. So I want to talk about that, how that's being handled right now, or whether it's being handled. All right, we'll get to the details of that. So let's zoom in on a map or two and see. Most of us are very map oriented, I find. All right, so you can see you are sharing your entire screen. That is not part of this presentation. I don't know why. Okay, so I'll just read it here. No, I won't either. See if I can move my screen enough. No, I guess I can't. It's page by page. Anyway, objective number one is to link the Upper Charles Trail into the East Coast Greenway. But really important, so we're asking for the support of Hopkinton and Ashland and all the 5 towns at a minimum, and maybe others. Framingham is on board with this now as well. We're asking for support to acquire the CSX property. Talk to our local state reps and say, we want you to support this. This is a good thing. If we don't get the CSX parcel, none of us can even go around in our loop, let alone going to Maine. You can't get there from here. So this route parity thing, though, is very important. So let's talk about a map that explains this in a little more detail. It's hard to breathe in this thing.
Yeah.
So we have Maine way up there. This is a concept map, so we're not showing streets or intersections or any of that. Maine's up there, Florida's way down there on the other end. And here's the Upper Charles Trail. Whether it's a circle or a rectangle doesn't really matter. That's the trail, and what we know, let's take Hopkinton's perspective. If you go south down 85, you head to Milford. You make the bend in Milford out kind of along at Route 16, head all the way to Sherborne, up to Ashland, back around. There's your loop, about 30 miles. So the concern that I'm raising, before I get to the second point about parity, this is the section that's being talked about to acquire. This is the Framingham train station. And from there down to Whitney Street in Sherborne, the northern end of the existing trail, we'd need to acquire that. It's roughly 2.5 miles or so. A trail that I haven't mentioned, it's smaller and newer and not built yet, is the Chris Walsh Trail. Chris Walsh was a very popular trail advocate, state rep from Framingham, who passed away, I think it was 2018. I'm not sure I'm right about that. But they named this section of trail they want to build after him. And that section of trail is heavily funded already. There's like some serious money behind it. And its job is to connect the end of the Bruce Freeman Trail to the Framingham train station. And that's where we'd pick up with what would be the Upper Charles Trail in Framingham. There's a new phrase. And we'd come down to Sherborne here. The key thing, and we'll look at some pictures of this, is when they get to this point where they could take a right and go to Ashland and Hopkinton. Right now, if they go straight down and they come here and they go to Rhode Island and Florida, nobody comes to Hopkinton and nobody comes to Ashland.
Right.
Right, so we'll talk about why we want them to come to our towns. We've got some slides about that. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, that's the basic concept. And the way that I'm addressing this is with rotaries and signage. I want them to stop here at a rotary with picnic tables and clowns and ice cream and just stop and sit on the picnic tables and read the map board that tells you why you might want to go this way. And it also does a good job telling you why you might want to go that way. Market all the towns, not just these.
So,
Yeah,
Joe,
sorry, go right ahead.
we only have a minute left.
Okay.
So I have a question that I hope I can ask you and
Sure.
maybe you can shed some light on this conversation. So the importance of bringing Hopkinton and Ashland into this is because I would think that it would be more leverage for the state if they include the whole Upper Charles Trail system with the 5 towns, as opposed to just 2 or 3.
When you talk about more leverage with whom?
With the state representatives, I understand that you are talking with
All of them.
Senator Spilka
Yes.
and Representative DeRosa and
Yes, but I think this, what needs to be emphasized, what the committee that we're on has been emphasizing is what the East Coast Greenway organization has promoted. They have the trail going this way and this way and that way. And they do not have even mentioned anything here.
have
So
they,
the leverage I'm talking about is to emphasize to the state reps that we want them to do this. And we want them to ensure right up front in the preliminary design
okay,
that there's going to be every effort made, whatever it is. Maybe they don't like rotaries, they don't like signs, however they're going to do it. We want them to do everything they possibly can to ensure that half of the riders go this way and half go that way. Now,
it's
it's not.
about options,
That's right. And education of the trail users.
correct?
Joel,
Like,
can you say something about the group that's behind all this and is trying to organize the acquisition of the CXX?
the group is called the Metro West Greenway Coalition, MGC. I call it MAGIC. And it is representatives from all 6, including Framingham towns. We have a Hopkinton rep, Ashland, Robert Wideneck, from Holliston. We have Reno DeLuzio from Milford. I mean, these are a gang of thieves here. We have we've been working very closely, the group has with the Framingham planner and the mayor of Framingham, very supportive of this. They'd love this if we could do this. There's all kinds of benefits to Framingham.
So Hopkinton is, and Ashland also are going to build their own bike trail.
Yes.
So what would be why wouldn't these other folks, why would not they include Ashland and Hopkinton?
Right. That's a great question.
Because
And
it's
the
no
most
cost to
important
them.
question. Why wouldn't they just say, this is great?
Yeah,
They
it gives
want-
people options.
They want our towns to be on board with them in asking for the acquisition of the CSX tracks.
Well, if that's the case, then we need to be included.
But this is when we, I think, have the most leverage right now. Yes, we totally support that, but we want our reps to represent us and to understand that if the East Coast Greenway just swooshes right
That's
past
not
our
good.
towns, this isn't good.
No, especially where the marathon starts here and it
Right,
goes
so
right
it's-
through
It's
Ashland.
not that there's opposition from our group. I think that they are shy about complicating we need this piece to complete our trail. And the other stuff, yeah, we'll get to that. And I think that my thing that I'd love you to support is to do this up front and to have our representatives right up front understand, yes, we support this. And we want to make very clear that all the state funding from Mass Trails grants and Mass Dot and ARPA funds and all this other money floating around, this is part of the deal. Let's bake that right into the model right at the very beginning. I'm
Okay,
just going to fly through a couple of slides that you can look at. I don't even need to speak to them. I'll just put them up. There's like little pictures coming up.
okay, good, because I want to
this
go
is-
around the table
This will
and
be like one
ask
more minute.
the members.
Okay, this is the most used park, if you want to call a bike trail a park. This is how they advertise themselves. It's pretty cool. Okay. This is the important takeaway. This is why this isn't just like, what do we care? As long as we can get to the trail in Framingham, why do we care if the East Coast Greenway is called coming, the name, it's a named trail coming through our towns? Why do we care? And that's the answer. I mean, there's a lot, and there's pages on pages of why some of these trails have generated over $40 million. I think it's a year or maybe over their lifetime in revenue. It's serious money. This isn't like another $500 coming in. It can be transitional for towns. Okay, this we've already talked about. Okay, so here's the key point that I want to make. Right now, they ain't coming here. Okay, we are not on their map. All right. What is route parity? This we talked about a little bit. We've hit most of these, so the rest are just going to be a few pictures.
Okay, so Joel, if I could just,
Yeah. And I'm just going to all I'm going to show after this is pictures of the Cape Cod Rotary.
sure. So, to the committee members, and I will go around to the table, probably starting somewhere over here. I'm sorry, what?
It's not the historic district.
Yeah, okay.
So far, going around the table, let's ask our committee members either by, if you raising your hand, if you don't raise your hand, I can just start here to my left and ask folks to give Joel some questions, and also keeping in consideration, do we want to just take a vote to just support this conceptual plan that's being proposed here, or do you want more time? Or, what does the committee want to do, and what are the thoughts? Anyone want to go first? Eric?
What do they have against us that they wouldn't include us from the planning stage?
Right, a couple of things have happened here, so I want to be very clear about this. What we're not encountering is resistance to this. The reason we're not encountering resistance to this is because we haven't really pushed this yet. We wanted you guys to say, I'm not sure we want to have a national trail coming to Hopkinton, or yes, we definitely do want this. If you guys are on board, and I have other people in my town I still need to talk to, this group that is pushing this CSX acquisition, I'm going to bring this up to them and say, look, we support this 100%. And there's no reason not to put in a rotary. This is not like a, an extra $1 million for a bridge or something. This is almost a no-cost, no-brainer. A key element of it is this map, is getting the people to stop here and having the map and signage. I'm gonna show you signage examples in a second.
Okay, did that answer your
So
question?
there's no resistance, but there have been an undercurrent. I want to be delicate how I phrase this. It's not resistance. I'm hoping this, but they're much focused on not bringing all this other stuff inside into this and all stuff. Let's just, this trail up here, where our trail ends, flows on our way. So we focus and not distract from the issue. Plus, be a primary objective.
Thank you. Jim, do you have something still?
I'm thinking, but so this, the ash sort of
Yes.
on the main, loops like that along, sit on the main.
Question, and the answer is can speak to, we include the trail. Show it to you here. This up very well, but if you, guess what, this is way out in this loop there.
Yeah.
This little guy is taking a from Boston to, and coming back on the Cape Cod Trail. He joined. So that's a loop. This is a bunch of loops all over the place. Watch, if you want to just really, really personal experience without biking for 3,000, go to YouTube, type in East Coast Greenway.
Yeah.
You'll get 500 videos. I've watched a lot of bike riders, and what they do, sometimes there's rain on the coast and they go inland, or it's snow inland and they go to the coast. So there are plenty of alternate routes here. So yes, that can happen.
I've been on sections of Maine and I never realized that it connected
Yeah,
even into New Hampshire.
I'm not sure what happened here, but
Okay,
David left, so that's it.
so moving
Out
on,
of
Bob,
time.
you have a thought. You do a lot of biking internationally, Bob.
Wow.
Yes, first of all,
Looking at 3,000 miles.
great presentation. Thank you, Joe.
Thank
And
you.
I'm in favor of letting you finish myself. But the CSX, a lot of this is the CSX piece from roughly the Framingham train station to the Whitney Street where the.
correct.
Now,
Not a lot of it, that's all of it. That's the CSX.
and that's an existing rail bed
Yes.
and a used rail bed. It's used by
Here's the
CSX.
situation. We've been out there about 300 times over the last 3 months. What you'll see if you go walk there, and anybody who wants to go take a walk and see this for yourselves, get in touch with Jane. She gets in touch with me, and the next day we're out there taking, it's very nice. There's a lot of beautiful scenery. It's really nice. The southern part of the tracks coming up from Whitney Street going toward Framingham, the first half mile or so, there's trees about that high in between the tracks. So one might surmise that they don't get a lot of use. The tracks are incredibly rusty. We talk to all kinds of people walking their dogs out there, kids on dirt bikes. There's all kinds of people that shouldn't be there, but they are there. And most of them will tell you that sometimes they store a train, they use it for storage, train storage, sometimes. I've seen them in the past. Recently, they haven't been there. It's been wide open.
Well, they never go all the way to Whitney Street.
Not that far. I guess they used to. I mean, some of those trains are like a mile long.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really serious things.
Did you have another question, Bob, or comment?
So
Cool.
that's the piece we're talking about. And is that also envisioned as being a part of the Ashland Trail as such right now or not?
So let's just start at the Framingham train station and go south from there.
Yeah.
We go a mile and a half, we get to, let's say 1.75 miles, we get to the Sherborne line. You're in Framingham, you hit the Sherborne line. There's all kinds of issues that I can't point to without the screen. And you go about another half a mile. And if you go straight, you go to Whitney Street. And if you take a sharp 90-degree right turn, you're going on what we call in Ashland, the Dyke Trail. that goes over and hits 126 immediately south, like 500 or 600 feet south of Market Basket on Route 126. And we're planning to go across there, and, you know, our route is a convoluted adventure in
Okay,
its
so
own way.
that dike rail
That's
trail,
existing. That's there. It's not a
Yeah.
paved trail, but it's a beautiful walk there. So, I mean, it's really unbelievable. You'd think you were in the Everglades. I mean, it's wilderness.
Yeah, it's a lot of wetlands.
So, that's where the Ashland Trail is. So the concern that I have is coming straight south from Framingham, the inclination, if there's no rotary there or no signage, even worse, is that we're this sharp right turn and,
right?
you know, what most people are just gonna be.
Yeah,
a
where
line
you
right-
going? You don't know where you're going.
Right, why would I go that way? So you can't see this, but I have signage that I want to include at that rotary that would have nice things. Why go to Ashland, Hopkinton? Why do that instead of the other way? Because we have groceries a mile away at Market Basket. We have restaurants right there. We have Ashland State Park. We have Hopkinton State Park. We have whatever you guys say we should have. We have the marathon starting line. We have the Marathon Museum,
I live here.
downtown stores, right? All this
Right.
good stuff you're building into your trail.
We are.
And going the other way, they have good stuff too. They have the
Right.
8 Arch Bridge, they have ice cream, they have bike shops. Nice. And all of that should be very nicely communicated at this rotary.
Yeah.
If you can get people to stop and read the thing.
We will. Sin,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation. At what point do you imagine, being able to kind of create a consortium or begin to pull in people to work together on it?
I'd say we have probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if you guys are thinking, well, you know, we've got so many issues that we're working, because we all do.
Mhm.
This is happening right now. There have been preliminary meetings with Senator Spilka's staff. Your state rep was in a meeting with our group about 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I've written to and communicate frequently with my state rep, who's also Ashland Framingham.
Mhm.
All of the Framingham reps are involved. There's also something in the State House called the Massachusetts House Trail Committee or some such name. And all of these guys, it's amazing. I think we have half of the members from the Upper Charles Trail communities. I mean, they're all active in this, which is great. So I
There's
think
a lot of
there's
interest.
a real urgency here. We need to get to our state reps soon and say, look, we don't want to we're not saying there's resistance to this. We're not saying that anybody is negative about doing this. And we're not saying that we need a detailed design and absolute this or that to make this happen. But we want to be very, very clear. We want to try to bake this into the model from day one. The first map that goes to Senator Spilka should show a rotary there.
I agree. Anyway, so I'm showing my prejudice and I'm sorry about that. Sin, do you have another question?
So the time is now, and, other Upper Charles, Milford, et
Yeah.
cetera, any help to pull them in as well? Or are we seeing that as that's another way to go? We're just going to focus on Framingham and Ashland, Hopkinton. Just trying to get a sense as to your,
Well,
Russ.
the other towns with Robert Wideneck from Holliston,
Mhm.
all the people, there's a whole bunch of them from Framingham. And they're already very on board with the CSX acquisition. I'm trying to add the second piece, the idea of route parity, so that half go this way, half go that way.
Mhm.
And I haven't pushed that too hard with them yet, but I intend to. That's what this presentation is. Look,
Okay.
there's no reason to oppose this. We need you on board with this. And this is what we're gonna tell our state reps, that we want them on board with this as well.
okay, very
We're
good.
looking for-
Thanks, Jim.
We're looking for an upfront commitment here, not a detailed design. This isn't an engineered plan. There's a whole separate discussion.
No, it's a conceptual, you're looking for, if I could jump in, a vote of support for your conceptual plan to include Ashland,
That's right.
Hopkinton
Right
and
from the start.
concept.
That's right.
Okay, so Ken, do you have some questions, comments?
Actually, I'm all in favor and willing to way right now.
Okay,
Joel, like for this committee to understand more the nature of the group that we're part of
Okay,
and who's on it and what it's doing and what the prospects are for the acquisition of the CXX
okay.
real lands.
So let's go down the list of committee members. I hope I don't leave anybody out. Two of the more active people who have been meeting with the Mass Trails Group at a very high level and have had several meetings with the mayor of Framingham and the town planner in Framingham, city planner, is Robert Wideneck, a professional, now retired landscape architect, very skilled. Another guy named Herb Nolan, who's also, I think, an active landscape architect. Those two have been the most prominent, I think, is because they have the technical skills to address wetland issues and, if there's toxic areas of soil along, they get into the details way beyond what I'm able to do. Herb is not just a landscape architect, he is I think the chief executive of something called the Solomon Foundation. They have some pretty big bucks behind them. I don't know the extent of it, to help support projects like this to a degree. He's not looking at funding the CSX acquisition. They're hoping the state may do that, but, they have money for engineering studies or some of the wetland studies that may need to be done. He's volunteered to step up and help fund some of the preliminary stuff. So those two guys, there's a guy named Ron Chick, who's, I think, somebody like me, just a trail advocate. He's very good. He's very outspoken and everybody knows him in Framingham. So he's a good teammate. We have Eli and myself and Reno, and I'm trying to think, I left off a guy named Rob Wolf, who's, I don't know, I think he might be the chair of the planning board in Sherborne, or he's on the planning board. I'm
I
not sure.
read that somewhere.
And most of these people are very serious bicyclists.
And that's good. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, does that answer your question?
Well, what do you think are the prospects for the state to acquire the CXX?
So CSX, if they don't want to sell, railroads back in the 1800s, there's all these railroad this act and that act, that they just wanted to protect the heck out of them so that people couldn't come along locally and start messing up their routes and causing them economic harm. And if they don't want to sell, it's going to be a long wait. The people who have been doing this longer than I have been seem to believe, I have no way of quantifying it, that if we dangle the right number of dollars in front of them, they're gung ho to do this. A couple of years ago, there was a discussion and they had verbally agreed to sell the land for a pretty low price. People were pretty happy about this. And that guy left the company and the new people said, no, we're going to use it for train storage. We're not going to do any of that. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of good reason for hope.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is a national trail that's getting a break in it, it's snapping, forget Hopkinton, forget Ashland. You're breaking a national trail here that you can't get there from here. This link needs to happen. This is a big deal for the state. And so I think, I'm hopeful that the magnitude of what's being discussed here is going to help carry this over the line. And if more dollars have to be thrown at it, perhaps they will, we'll see.
Well, so we've gone around the table and we're running short on time. So perhaps you would be willing to come back and
Anytime.
update us as you make progress. But I'm willing to entertain a motion from anyone to, and we can play with the verbiage, but a motion to support this conceptual concept to have join with the rest of our fellow Upper Charles Trail towns and add Framingham in there so that we could become part of the East Coast Greenway or language similar to that. Or do you have different language that you would suggest?
Not at all. I have put together, Jane asked me to put together an example of a support letter. I can't encourage you enough to make it your own. If you don't like saying it the way I said it, that's fine. I mean, what we're looking for is your strong endorsement of protecting your town and my town.
That would
And
be,
so I
see.
have this that I haven't sent you yet, but I'm going to send you this
Okay.
copy.
So how about this? Step one, we if the committee members feel comfortable with that, we could give you an initial vote of support if there is a motion and a vote that would go to minutes, and we could look at visit it at the meeting with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let me make a motion. I motion we support the Greenway with a letter of our legislators, especially Senator Spill, who represent all of us, Ashland, Kenton, and Framingham.
That's either.
Mhm.
Second.
Discussion.
The only discussion, I just want to be clear that I would keep getting to the motion idea of group parity. You
Oh,
support the
yeah.
East Coast Greenway, that's what these guys were, straight East Coast Greenway and don't come to our town.
Mhm.
I mean, I gotta say,
Change mine to
ensure-
participation in the Greenway.
No, East Greenway with parity with Ashland and Hopkins,
all town.
all town.
About that.
The Metro West Greenway or something, Kim?
Oh, it's 5
The
in
committee, that's the name.
That's-
Oh,
towns.
You're the advocate. Shouldn't we be that committee then?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the committee is necessarily supporting the agenda I brought to you.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be clear. I'm trying to use leverage from you guys
Yes.
and my
Yeah.
group to go talk to them.
All right, so our initial
Gonna
motion.
vote on that initial
Yep,
motion.
the initial motion is that this committee support the East Coast Greenway, including the parity trail. And also including a letter to our Senator Spilka, supporting the conceptual plan.
Which includes the upper,
Includes
that's part
the-
of the Greenway.
Of towns in the Charles Trail and Framingham,
I amend my motion to that.
To what you,
whatever it was. Okay,
Second on that.
and by Sin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that unanimous vote. And thank you very much, Joel, and I would have you come back, give us an up.
I'm good anytime.
Okay,
Please.
Offer again, anybody who would take a walkout, I mean, there's plenty of parking everywhere to get to.
wonderful.
You know, anytime you want to do it.
Okay.
The other thing on Ashland, I think, is go to our select board and to get, or our town man, ask them to write a similar of support. So, you know, the committee has much power and the select board has that much.
Right. Well, we can also take it up in another.
Sure.
To our select board, but right now we're in the middle of all kinds of stuff.
Joel will send you,
Yes, I
Please
will.
send
Absolutely.
together, and we can move, can consider this work.
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you, Joel. That was great.
How interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? This is wonderful. Okay, so we, Joel, so
Great.
much.
Thanks. I'll see you all.
Yes,
Yes.
we're going to put off 4 and 9 to another date when Jamie can be here. So now, Dave and Matt, we're going to move on to number 5, discussion, overall map and simplifying
Right, Joel?
the total route, starting with the north section, Hopkinton State Park to East Main Street. So what do we got?
Would you prefer to use a rollout plan or would you prefer sharing a file up on the screen? To show the
Oh,
north?
do the committees want to look at the paper or do you want to look at on the screen?
I can show it on the screen for
Screen.
people who are.
Let's look on the screen.
Screen would be
Screen
better.
first.
Get it on the screen.
Green.
All right.
Big paper.
And if there are minutia,
See, Ken?
look at the map.
Question is, can the screen actually show?
Okay, so while he's pulling that up,
Sorry.
we can think about why we asked for this to be done. We've put Hayden Row on hold. We're not going to talk about that at all. And this committee has moved on to section 1. To look at that piece of the map first, and then we can move on to other pieces of the map after that. Yes, Sam.
not to be obnoxious, but segment one, are we changing that terminology to north, central and south? Just,
Yes.
just so
Yes,
that we,
so thank you, thank you.
so
So this is the north section. Thank you very much.
not to be obnoxious.
No, you're not being obnoxious at all. There's,
Historical, ambiguity.
So north
That's
is north.
right.
please, everyone, look at the north section.
Disregard the southern alignment file name.
I can't even see it. I forgot my glasses.
But this is the north
Okay,
section. Your meeting last week identified the north section as Hopkinton State Park to East Main Street. So, I think the goal of this exercise was to, start the committee was gonna look through each of the segments that are on the plans. The segments that are on these plans will, reflect what was presented at the April workshop, which were all the segments the committee had looked at and evaluated kind of through the history of the creation of your committee.
Dave, where is East Main Street on the map?
East Main Street.
Far right
Right,
corner.
a little, right here is East Main.
Okay.
Right, there's the marathon parcel or whatever it's called.
It goes to the west. It would go through the International Marathon Center property.
So your map is going east-west and not north-south.
No, let's go north.
Oh,
It's north oriented.
North is that way, that's right.
Yeah, well, that's,
he likes north on top.
north should be
North
here,
should be. You're in.
west should be here,
On his
east
face.
is over
engineer,
here,
Dave.
and south is down there.
He's gonna make us happy.
Oh, no.
Oh, you don't have to. I'd rather read all the taxes.
I know.
Oh, now I'm.
Okay, so
There's north, but it's longer than it. Yeah.
Well, for so now that we understand, you can turn it back. then.
yeah, I'd like to say that I love this map. It's one of the best ones I've seen.
Yes, amen. Yeah,
What's the Alt D1 and Alt D2?
alternate.
No, yeah, well,
Right.
Oh, that,
that's,
that's the existing,
that's Legacy Farms Trail, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Way back, it was identified as a alternate D1 and D2. They are actually constructed now.
Along Legacy Farm north and south, right?
Yes.
Sidewalk. Big
Yeah.
sidewalk.
yes. It's considered the sidewalk, but it's also part of a viable,
Considered it was constructed, I think, 8 feet.
Yeah, it's wider than.
it's part of a trail, potential trail, if we chose to do it. And I think our guidelines suggest that we should submit to the select board 2, sometimes 3 options, depending on the area. And I think Dave is about to explain something else, so there are 2 options there anyway.
So, yeah, I think this, the idea of this exercise again, I think, was for the board to kind of formally start selecting segments, we'll call them today, alternates, to leave on the maps as you move forward, or to remove them. D1 and D2 are already constructed, so they would obviously stay. And there's no really other alternatives or options or segments.
Except the big yellow line,
That just ends, right? The Legacy Farms Trails ends at what,
the
Clinton?
lights.
Clinton, yeah, I believe.
Yep.
it would be.
It goes through the south to Clinton and that's it. So we can't get anywhere there, really, because we don't have any of the rail bed or anything.
Correct.
Some evaluations in some of the previous report, how to do actually in that area. I don't know exactly.
It- Work out.
Yeah,
Talked about.
Oh, I don't know.
that may not be on the central map, is being the northern map, and then there's the southern.
Okay, so is everyone clear on that? Or,
Got it.
so I think from here, the option would go to all the way down to East Main Street and then take a right on the sidewalk and go all the way up to this town center, the town common, according to this map.
That's one way.
That's
Yeah.
one way.
The Central Trail shows other options from this.
Well, if the center map would be the next option. Bob, do you have a question on this
Yes.
map?
I do. The Arrow Gas Pipeline Eversource, which appears to be pointing to a fairly small piece of that trail on private land. So is that right? Is it just that little,
Gas pipeline that goes all the way through.
or is that whole,
So
is the pipeline a lot longer than just where the arrow points?
It's two
Oh,
arrows.
yeah.
There's one over here, it's the existing, there's another one up here that's existing. So the Eversource gas pipeline
Pointing at nothing.
cuts through this area. Some of the trail is shown within the same easement as the existing gas pipeline easement.
This doesn't show the pipeline though.
That shows, it's a fate line.
The yellow.
It's a real thin
Oh, yeah.
kind of line.
There's two different pipelines actually.
Tennessee.
There's a mayor.
There's kind of a pipe going that way and one going.
Oh, where's one going north? I mean, up.
This one goes up to, it's evident if you go up to Brook Hollow and which is Haltland up there, it's the one that goes by there.
Yeah.
The trail.
There's two or three.
Okay.
Yeah.
See.
That one doesn't matter much.
But-
We're just crossing it, but
Right.
it's there.
We are allowed within the language to do a perpendicular cross, not parallel, but perpendicular. We are allowed to do that. Okay, does anyone have any other questions on segment one?
Nope.
Do, we have time to look at the center? Or not? Would you rather not do that tonight,
Well,
folks?
so-
It's up to the committee
I'd
members.
rather delay it till we do this pamphlet thing and see if we have time.
Ken.
Yeah, I just have a question as to what our next move is on the north. I mean, that's great. We've got it on the map. Do we have any, where are we at marking the trail on the ground? Is that, is it possible?
That's where we
That's
have
a question for Matt.
CPC giving us engineering
Yeah.
money.
July.
There's nothing to do
There's a
till we get
half
that.
trail out there now.
Some of it.
It's
But-
for a portion of it, yeah. And
But
so
so-
the idea is you'd follow that to some extent.
So the part I guess I'm most interested in is the part that goes between Legacy Farms North and the dam. So I don't know where on the ground exactly that is. I mean, there's existing trails there that I walk on all the time, but they don't go that close to where I think.
DCR property?
Yeah, some of it's DCR, but it's the, what I'd like to know is how, for sure, do we know where it would go?
No.
By the constraints of, Roy McDowell's future development considerations and all like that. That's what I care about
Well,
there.
I remember conversations with Roy McDowell specifically, but that's in the Legacy Farms open space, which is not DCR property. And we had agreed,
Yes,
when we were talking about the ENF, to parody, well, to use that word parody. But-
Section Here, where, that's DCR, that's in Ashland, and it's owned by the state. So
Right.
I'm not concerned about that.
Okay, so, to my knowledge, the last conversation we had with Roy McDowell was during the conversations with the ENF. And to my knowledge, that still stands in that he is willing to work with us hand in hand to develop the trail. Yeah. And he's just waiting for us to figure out where we want to go. So he's willing to move his trail depending on what this engineering studies.
Is that right? Because that would be great if that were the case.
Yeah.
This part's all open land already, so no problem with that. We got to engineer exactly where the trail is, I understand that. But here, there's.
Okay, so Dave has the answer, I think, Ken.
For you, Jane, that section between Legacy Farms North Road and the Ashland border there, that's following the gas pipeline.
It's right on the gas pipeline the whole way, just about.
Yes, so that's where it's
Okay.
shown here to go.
Okay. And-
further evaluation will determine, you know,
Okay.
on-site, how wide that is.
Probably
how
too
that will
early,
Work, so forth and so on.
but it's gonna go somewhere in there. He's willing to work with us wherever we decide that we need to go.
As long as,
It's gonna need to go on the gas pipeline,
Okay,
because there's development there that's been built already. So,
okay,
there is a housing development both on
On
the
the-
east and west, if we're going,
in the south, yeah.
or north and west on this map, if not.
Up and down.
Good job on the map,
Okay.
Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, great
This
map.
idea is still right
all
along.
right, so, I heard someone suggest that we move on to number 6 and then come back. We have time to look at the center. So, Sin, we're talking about, thank you, first of all, Cynthia, for working so hard on updating the previous flyers and handouts that we have used successfully in the past. I know we've had quite a bit of conversation about, getting something out there, and we've been struggling with how to do that. And I think we've kind of fallen back on something that's been successful, and Cynthia worked very hard, and plus adding other stuff
Yeah.
based on information that you've received.
On the one hand, I think it's good to have the history of what we've done for public outreach in terms of what we've used when. And then it's another opportunity to assess whether they were that helpful or not. As I've mentioned, when
Yeah.
Bob and I were at HUP 101, not that many people picked up the trifold. They were fascinated with the big map. So that was a lesson, that was something to know. But now that we've had so much discussion on updates, dating updates, where are we at, public confusion as to where we're at, what we're working on or focusing on at the moment. These kinds of single page or whatnot could be very, very helpful, I think. But they need to be very adaptable. I made an example of a one-page flyer with a survey on back that I wrote up to aim to seniors, because we're looking for cyclists, we're looking for seniors, we're looking for the moms groups, the PTO, the HPTO. So I think it can be helpful. And that survey thing, the senior center is waiting. They're ready for me to leave a pile of them there. They think that's a great idea for that particular community that comes and then out for lunch and activities and that would benefit us to be able to know what folks are thinking, if they have any interest in trails or not. So I think that survey is one thing. And then I think a trifold is just something that would totally be invented by this committee. I just would move pieces around. So it's an idea that could go anywhere or not. But I do know that I would love to be able to work on a decent, simple survey that could be both online and on paper would be good.
Okay, good. Going around the table, do we want to start on one side or the other? Or just raise your hand or thoughts?
We're talking about the,
Trifold.
Trifold
A
that-
single page
that
with a
was,
survey.
that was on the agenda, right? On the-
Yeah, it was in the packet.
Yeah. Well, I didn't print it out, so I can't really comment on it.
And I have printed out so many little messes of it, but work.
Oh,
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah,
That's a very
this is-
good.
Wait a minute, one at a time, one at a time.
Well, I didn't print it out. This is the only thing I did print out, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna pass on Bob. Jim,
I'm out. I have nothing to say.
okay,
Thank you.
Ken?
Any chance we can put it up there? I guess we don't have an electronic version.
You know
Mm,
what?
You've got it. in your
I
email.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah, I know where, no.
yeah, I don't.
Here, I can pass this around. Are you looking for the trifold or the
Yeah.
questionnaire?
Yeah, the trifold.
Here's
That's
the
what we're talking
trifold.
about, isn't it?
Both.
Both, and
A
here's
single
the other
pager.
one. Okay, so while,
I looked at previous versions of it.
Yeah.
does anyone
previous.
want to see
This
the
is
Oh,
like
I know
questionnaire?
what it is.
Totally, total look.
Okay, so, while you're looking at that, I think that where Sin has received a request for, the questionnaire and the flyer, I say we go with it. It's to a target group, it's to, the senior citizens, I think. Am I not correct?
I tried to make it kind of,
More general, is it something?
I tried to make it very general, and the only thing that targets, if you will, is, we haven't heard enough from you folks. And I'm hoping we could do that with bike groups, with
Oh, okay.
moms, with this and that. But we make it ever so slightly personal by saying we're looking for you,
All right.
in the Scott
Well, I like the
format.
idea. I do like the idea, especially if I could interject. And I'm just jumping ahead in the agenda because, on,
Those questions, so.
on, 4/18,
Right.
we are supposed to participate in Know Your Vote. And on, another, we've got town meeting coming up, which not every town meeting, but quite often, we do have materials available.
Mhm.
So if we went ahead and, had some of these materials made up, it could be, if we had it at the ready, then maybe we could have it available. Doesn't mean that we're
Mhm.
going to use it.
Mhm.
And we could probably get the town to assist us in making
Mhm.
these available.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts from other committee members? I would like to see us get going on something, to
Mhm.
have something. Go ahead.
My concern is I have just kind of belted this stuff out, and it does need to be reviewed like that. I don't think that I myself should write survey questions and leave them on the senior center counter without them being vetted. So, that slows things down a wee tad, but, y'all,
Here's a suggestion. I have on the agenda our next meeting for 4/19. However, that's over a month away.
mhm,
And we canceled the first Wednesday in
April,
April because it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
Passover.
Could we look at our calendars and come up with another date where we could dedicate it to a conversation about going over some materials?
That would be very
Or
helpful, and,
one item on the
I'd
agenda.
be very ready to kind of push.
Why don't we
Push
do the
things
first
out.
Thursday,
First Thursday in
April?
April
Which
is
31st
The sixth
first Thursday. It would be the sixth.
First
April.
Thursday of April, can't be the.
of April. Okay, it's March 31st, March.
I was thinking March 30th, but hey.
So
No, I got another meet. Well, no, I don't.
is this,
I'm away.
is this a committee?
You're away?
Say whatever you want.
I'm away until I return on April 1. I'm away a couple of weeks coming up.
Then April
Well,
sixth.
first-
would work.
April 6th.
April 6 is great.
4, 6,
Actually, it's open space that night.
23.
Oops, and I have Parks and Rec, and
Oh, that's right.
sorry about that,
Traffic.
folks.
So what? Don't go.
Wednesday is Passover.
You can forgive me. All right, 4, 6, 26, 6:30, right?
Yeah, if you don't go, we'll. get in
Um,
trouble.
We could ask Elaine if this meeting room is available. Oh, no, it's not. It's open space.
Mhm.
Are they down here?
How about we
Yeah.
meet in the library?
Yeah,
I could try that, sure.
Thursdays are open late, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so the
And what
problem
date are you
with the
looking at?
library is that
6.
their
I'm
Google
away.
Meet
Yeah,
does not
I'm away.
work.
Oh, boy, but just an in-person meeting.
What doesn't work?
The Google Meet in the libraries does not work well.
Oh.
But there might be another room available in this town hall.
We'll find a room.
Sure.
You can find-
So maybe that would be a request for Elaine.
Senior center, we're going back there for
Are you
conference.
saying you'll be gone on the sixth?
I'm gone on the sixth, but I could send materials forward
Oh,
and
you're back? You're not?
I'm back and then gone again.
Oh, all right. So come up.
She's going biking on the, down to Florida.
I'd love to. I'm gonna
Somebody
be in
throw out
Maine.
another date besides the 6th, because I think since.
I'm so sorry. If
Yes, Elaine, go ahead. I think it was about the meeting room.
I can find you a room wherever you'd like to meet, whatever date.
Okay,
April
So-
6th.
no, she can't be here.
April 5th is Passover.
Yeah, how about Tuesday?
Concom.
Very good.
Don't do it for
Okay.
me. No,
What time
never
do you
mind.
start with
No
Concom?
Concom.
All right,
Usually it works for me.
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
Tuesday what?
the 4th.
Tuesday, April 4th. Does,
Well, I have a,
So the lower level is booked by the Historical Commission, Select Board is upstairs.
Okay.
is out, let's
how about
try
the 3rd?
Sorry.
Monday, the 3rd?
Monday. Nobody knows on Monday.
Yeah,
Monday, the 3rd?
okay.
That work for you, Elaine?
Doesn't work for you, does it, Jane?
Looks like it might be.
Is it planning board then?
Lower level.
Wednesday, planning board Wednesdays.
Is it plain board?
Planning board is remote, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't work. Friday?
We're gonna have to stop
Good
it.
Friday.
No, Friday, Good Friday. Okay, the following week,
I don't have it in.
moving on to the following week.
Monday, the 10th.
Yes.
We're 4/12?
4:10?
4:10 is Monday,
Oh. That's okay.
Also,
because Easter is 4
That
now.
was, the 12th is a Wednesday, I guess that's it, but it has going for it, yeah.
4:10?
4:10.
Looks clear.
Once, twice.
Okay, 4:10, and that's a Monday,
That's just 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
How's that look, Elaine?
It looks good.
Oh, hoo-hoo.
How about 4:30?
Monday for April 10.
Okay, sorry, that was hard to do.
Okay, good. We got that done.
Just looking for our tools.
And then the following meeting would be and then we would have another meeting
So-
almost a week after. But that's okay if we get the
Really
job done.
okay.
All right,
Yeah, Easter
We can-
Monday.
number 7. So
That was like pulling teeth. Yes. It's a busy time of year. Okay, so we did that.
Yeah.
So then that's going to be 4:10. We're gonna give it our best try. All we can do is try.
Mhm.
So review of the minutes from 3:1. And so I would like to start off by making a motion to amend my comment. It's number 3 in the last statement to read, I was speaking as the chair alone as a personal opinion, and it does not necessarily express the views of the entire Upper Charles Trail Committee. So that's would be my motion. That would be my,
this is just an amendment.
yeah, this is just an amendment. So that would be the amendment.
Well, you can't even amend anything that doesn't exist. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of 3:1 as written.
Second,
Okay.
now we
Okay.
discuss,
Motion to amend it.
okay?
As I stated, and I'm sure Elaine got that language. Does
I-
anyone else have any other amendments to the motion? I mean, to the minutes?
I amend my motion to the amendment that you just made. We're voting on my motion.
Yes, we are.
Yes, yes.
I don't-
Second.
I don't amend my motion. Your little thing ain't going in.
It needs to go in.
That's why I'm amending.
Thank you. Anyone have a second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
was you and I, or was you?
Abstaining just because I wasn't very careful this time. I was kind of under the impression that I'd be able to read them here. I didn't give myself enough time to,
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Well, if we're being truthful, I read them 2
you
days
go.
ago and forgot.
Here you go.
usually I do read them, but
Would you like?
I read them too.
I'll just put me on the record as abstaining, fine.
All right, so
Back anything.
Topics for next meeting.
topics for next meeting, which is going to be 4:10.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the flyer and survey, right?
Yep.
What else do we need to talk about? I think we would like to talk about, unless, what time is it? Do we have time to
No,
dive into the center,
no.
or do you want to put it on for the 10th?
Um,
What does the committee want to do?
this committee member would like to complete our list for next meeting and kind of flesh out what a whole meeting would be. So flyer and survey, and then we need to do our check-in on how our outreach. Because, I mean, we got to make sure that's in there.
Check in for outreach?
Outreach
Yes.
updates
That's a good idea.
and minutes, we always do.
Minutes?
And any.
Yes, I had some
I've
thought.
got the two things here for Jamie that you gotta put on.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
right.
Now you got a full meeting.
Now you have a full meeting.
Well, also thought I had something else I wanted to bring up.
We've got plenty of
Oh,
time to
okay.
think about it.
Yes, that could definitely change. Oh, I would like the members, and this could be a discussion for next time. But I would like the members to start thinking about town meeting and how do we want to do a presentation? Do we want to
Mhm.
just get up and speak? Do you want, what is it, how is it this committee would like to respond? So I'm just asking you to think about it at this point. And I'm also asking you to think about, I think that this committee needs to take a stand, or no, not to take a stand, but to take a vote on the 2 petitions. And we have to say Peter's petitions, because I understand there's 3 different petitions now going forward.
Oh,
So we have to identify it. I know a member, yeah, that's what I heard. There's
See.
2 other citizens petitions that are floating out there that are going to be brought forward. So it has to be identified. No, it's already out there. Elaine can speak to it, but
do we know, has everything passed through legal department?
no, I do not
Okay.
believe legal has weighed in on it yet, but I believe that we should be, that the committee members, I'm not asking you to do anything tonight, but just start thinking about it, because I believe that this committee should take a vote. Do folks individually support the petitions or not support the petitions? And there can be a whole discussion about that. But it's going to come up. So just thinking about it, and we can put it on for the agenda item, and also we can start thinking about, do we want to do a presentation? Do we want to just stand up and speak as individual? What does the committee want to do at town meeting? It's going to be a committee decision.
Mhm.
So,
Are
I
you-
don't think the petitions can be brought to town meeting, but assuming that town council says they can, then.
Well, let's wait till.
No, I understand that, but, then I think we would speak as
He hasn't heard back.
citizens, I guess.
I talked to Norman yesterday. He has not heard back from.
no, and it could be,
Probably.
I mean, I've seen this at
Mhm.
other town meetings where quite often legal opinions don't come down until just before things come
Yeah.
up.
And then they get
I
the
think-
X's,
I
yeah.
think we should
Uh-huh.
probably start thinking about being prepared to do something.
I think a presentation is a sensible thing to consider.
I
I'm-
agree with you.
I agree.
Let's talk about it next time.
So we can,
We got
it's not the agenda.
We can't just show up. We have to.
We have to do something.
Mhm.
And it can be and I don't know, we have to find out the details. I think we have to talk to the town moderator and find out how much time we would be allowed. I think we would probably be allowed, I think in the past it's like 10 minutes. But we have two
I
meetings.
think 3.
No, that's an individual
Oh,
speaker.
oh.
If you're a presenter, I think it might be 10
Yeah.
minutes, but I do not know any of that. So I'll see what I can find out in between and at least report back on that.
Good. This is something to think about for sure.
Okay, what did
We all
I
need to
say?
think about this.
You said,
Presentation.
You just said
is there a
that.
motion to
I'm
adjourn?
not gonna-
Next, almost. But next time we are talking about town meeting. That's an agenda.
We have a little bit of time. Do you want to at least look at the centerpiece?
No.
I mean, but, Jane,
Okay.
tell me why you would like to, please.
It might bring up some conversation, or not.
We're done.
We're done. Okay, we're done.
I think we'd be
I'm
rushed,
done.
Jane.
Send it.
Okay.
Well,
I-
you just like to
That-
make.
it's up
it-
to-
You're
I
fine.
just
wouldn't-
brought
wouldn't
up.
mind hearing
You're needing
I
that.
wouldn't mind hearing your answer to Cynthia's question. I'm fine
What
with
was the question?
What was the question?
why you wanted to talk about the center section.
Yes,
now.
now.
Oh, no, I'm just
Is
there forward because it completely
there
is up to
reason-
the committee.
Yeah.
And I,
The committee has told
Save it.
no,
Yeah.
and you
So-
keep bringing it
listen,
up.
So I just
start-
thought there must be a
Yeah.
big
No, no,
burning
no, there
reason
was
that we're.
absolutely
not
no.
saying-
okay, so I think we can
Yeah.
probably put the center.
Okay.
Segment.
Center segment, oh boy, that'll be a 3-hour meeting.
Meeting, but we can do it. We're up to it.
All right, why don't we
Okay.
start at 6 o'clock instead of 6:30?
No, we'll have to go after.
10 o'clock.
No, no, we've been down this road.
Well,
It's right after dinner.
Because Jamie can't make it until 6:30.
It's too bad.
And Scott,
Center
Yeah,
segment
what's up?
discussion. We will do the best we can do.
Other question.
All right.
You know,
Ready
in
for a
Chatham,
motion?
they have no meetings after like 5 PM.
What's that? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
well, I understand why folks want later meetings so they can take care of their young families and all, but
Hey.
Okay, so is there anything else that we want to discuss for next items for next?
4 PM myself.
No,
Well,
yeah,
I think we've got a full meeting.
I'm just not clear. This is on
I'm
the
best at
agenda for next meeting, right?
Yes, yes.
And
that,
if
the
you have any
flyer.
thoughts,
Right.
can
Survey on the
individually
back of the
reach out to
flyer.
her
Yeah, I'll
or
talk-
individually reach out to
Oh,
me?
sure.
Because the more,
Right.
we
Yes,
can,
indeed.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to be the conduit for what the committee thinks,
All
you
right.
know, I have no personal vested interest. It's just, I think we want to build quite the trail of
Maps are good, that's all.
something is
yeah.
good.
Pictures and maps.
trying to get a good map.
Okay, so
Pictures.
before we go
Absolutely.
to agenda, I just have two items of interest.
I think it's good.
Yes.
Know Your Vote is 4/18, which is the day before. It's a Tuesday night and it's at HCAM. I would like the committee to think about so this committee has been invited to at least be present. This committee in the past has had someone there to answer questions. So it doesn't have to be me, but someone from this committee should be there to be prepared to answer questions if they come up at Know Your Vote.
I'll be at that meeting.
And also secondarily, the petitions will be, item is going to be Know Your Vote. People are going to be voting on it. I would like the committee members to think about what questions you would like to ask
Uh-huh.
Peter and the citizens questions. This is our opportunity to ask some questions at the town meeting. Okay,
Another big deal.
big deal.
Yeah.
And it's important.
I mean, to go home.
Taking place
At the eight,
HCAM.
at HCAM
Yep.
stu-
and on a Tuesday night, it starts at 7 PM.
What?
Okay. I think that, and it should be Zoom, I would think it would be a great thing. Although the other thing that's really important is that planning board subcommittee pedestrian activity is having townwide public outreach meeting on March 21st, which is next Tuesday. And it's all Zoom and it starts at 7 PM. And I think it's really worthwhile for everybody to tune in because it's we're talking about connectivity. It's connecting, but it's connecting sidewalks, hills to roads. It's different in, it's not just bike trail. It's about connecting everything that
To that meeting.
it's posted on the town,
Website.
event calendar.
Okay. An event,
I think it would, so spread the word. I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
yeah, that's great. I wasn't thinking about it.
Gary Hill,
Mhm.
committee,
I will, yeah, yeah.
myself,
definitely.
LaGoy,
Yes.
and
Well,
there's worked on that.
I know. Then we got.
Wonka,
Think about-
Jay's husband. Yep. So we all worked on that. It's
I
a
don't remember.
good presentation and slideshow and everything. So I would urge everyone to go and
Yeah.
word, email all your friends. So now, Eric, give you the show.
We adjourn. April 10th at 6:30.
Second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
everyone for coming.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Dave. Thank
Dave,
you,
thanks
Matt.
for coming, Matt. No,